Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming over. We made you exercise a little bit by getting you up the stairs to the fifth floor. I hope everyone is settled, heart rate is normal, and we're just about to start. So briefly, a little bit about Citrus Pay. This entire series called UpStart is started by Citrus. This is the second such event we are doing. And the earlier one was talking about growth hacking and taking $0 marketing. This session is more about bootstrapping. And we've got three excellent speakers with us. We have Santosh from Explara. He's going to be talking about economic downturn and bootstrapping. We have Pratyush, who is going to talk about bootstrapping versus raising angel funds. And finally, we have Sunil, who is joining us in a while. And Sunil is going to be speaking about monetization and taking the product global, right? All three startups that have bootstrapped for a very long time till they raised funds. I hope this is going to be a great learning experience. And do connect with me after the event if you want to know more about Citrus, our coming Upstart series. If you want us to run a special session about something, it'll be really great to know your thoughts, what you would like to hear from us. Right? So now I'm just handing this over to Santosh.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to stand and talk, not comfortable sitting and talking. Right, great. Thanks for coming, everybody. I love the format of the event, mainly because no longer we have to get into big events to meet people or kind of encourage more to join the startups. So coming back to the topic bootstrapping, it's close to heart because it's closely fought and for several years and painfully fought. But the reason when Vivek was planning this and he said, hey Santosh, we are planning this, we want to talk. I said yes because I believe this is the only format of building a company. If you ask me, any day saying that I want to build a company, I would say bootstrap. And that's the reason that it motivated me to come out and talk. My talks are always very kind of, wouldn't say philosophical, but most about encouraging people to come and do it. That's what I would like to leave everybody with an impression. So now coming back to economic downturn and bootstrapping, the topic that was given to me to talk. Couple of reasons why we should bootstrap. So before you all came in, there was one startup who came to meet, and they've been chatting at least with me for WhatsApp for last 2 weeks to say we have an idea that we want to build now, and the idea is about bit of offline and online. So just giving you the background about similar kind of pain points would be here is that everybody has an idea, right? And everybody has money, right? But not that even your dad is not going to write you check just with an idea. That's the truth. So it's not about that whether I have a brilliant idea or not. And whether I can generate funding or not. The long or the shortest run of the success is that whether you can show it in action, generate some amount of growth, that means your customers, paying customers, or even not paying customers but regularly using your services and product so that you can measure, map it, figuring out whether it's really right or not, right? So to come back to the example that I was giving is that in today's generation, it's much easier to start, right? And it's very difficult to bootstrap. It's very, very difficult to now raise a fund right now. In the situation that's happening in another, let's say, we don't know how many quarters it's going to last, but I think the fundamentals are going to come back and hunt us back as an entrepreneur. If we say, oh, you know what, I could raise a fund easily, the question is going to come back saying that how easy it was to grow your business. Could you grow your business easily? Then that means you have a fantastic execution team, you found out a right sort of product mix, or you found out some growth hacking which made you to grow, and hence you have proven as a as a startup or as a company to back for. Now, in the case of economy downturn, it becomes very, very struggling, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples, some positive, some negative, so that you can make up your mind and prepare your own battle. So I'll give you an example. 2008. So this is my third startup that I've been trying to start up. At least now I'm not trying to start up, I'm trying to grow. So two other startups I've tried, 2005, 2006, right? And that time I had no concept of bootstrap. I didn't know. The only way I knew that you will ever able to make a business is doing it on your own money, right? I come from a background where my dad had a dairy farm as a second dhanda, in terms of having his bank job as the first job and having a dairy farm. So as a childhood, I've gone, sold milk, even to my friends' houses as early as 6th class, 7th class, 8th class. So the only word that I knew is that you can build a company with your own money, or anybody that writes a check has to be really validated and authenticated that, yeah, you are doing it the right way. So when I started in 2005-6, nobody was writing check. I was not even building in India, so there was no concept of bootstrapping. I tried with my own money and lost those money, right? And I don't regret about it because I had certain ideas and I wanted to build a company. Now, when I started the third one, on 27 November 2007. So the formally, Explara is known as started in 2008, but I started the company, registered in 2007 November. And India was about to hit recession that time. So when I started in that month, I started with a very simple product, which was more about recruitment around networking, right? And recruitment was one of the pain points that I always went through in the companies that I worked, and I had a good network. So I thought there is a product mix. I launched it in 2008 around March, and being a great sort of networking, with a lot of HRs that I knew, right in the Bangalore ecosystem between 97 to all the way to 2006-7. I could go back to all my HRs with a new product that we had launched then called Talenty, just before Explara. But there was an economic downturn, right? The 2008, there was a recession and nobody was spending money. And I could still get hold of a lot of my HR friends, and I said, hey guys, here's an idea going to make your recruitment better, right? And there was a formula there. There was a pain point there, and there was a solution there. I got several meetings and product, sort of reviews and assessing how good the product is, but everybody came up with one fine answer saying that, Santosh, we are not hiring. Forget about better hiring, we are not even hiring, right? So that was 2008 when the economy had gone down, which is again happening in some small format. Let's not get panic, but having some sort of uncomfortableness going on in the industry, at least in the new age startup industry about funding. But suddenly there is a sort of hiring frozen, and in 2008 everybody had frozen down. So to draw the point, I quickly realized that I had a huge passion around networking and recruitment, and I was combining it for at least 4 or 5 years. Or to give you a little bit better why I was crazy about it, I at least got worth 5 lakhs referral money in my own career given as a referral bonus, because I referred everybody in the company that I worked. I referred as high as a VP of product to certain companies that I worked, right? So I was known as the internal HR of the company. The HR cannot hire, Santosh can find it out, right? So I got loads of money, 5 lakhs worth of money in the earliest part of my career. And I worked with the HR, so I could realize that there is a pain point, and that drove me at least for 2-3 years to go out and build a product. But then I realized that suddenly when I launched in 2008 March, by May I realized that nobody is hiring. And these are your sort of people who are in the industry and HRs, right? They don't fake. So one clear route could have been that I could have tried many years, but if I would have tried, then there is no money because it's my own money that I was writing. 2008, in India scene, there were not many investors, or there were not many angel investors. You could still raise fund, but there were not many angels that we could see in the today's world. So the only way that we could do is you could bootstrap the idea that was told no, and you could have retained, and maybe 2010 that would have worked. By 2 years, if I would have bootstrapped, I would have sold my couple of houses back in my hometown too, right? But then I realized quickly that that's not the way to do it. And during the same time, which is what I've been telling in many places that I go out, saying that the other idea that Explara came out with a radio ad that I was listening, and then figured out that what's happening in the event industry. So see the brilliance of two concepts. One concept which I'm passionate about, and I know there is every day, every company hiring. Hiring is a 365 days problem, right? Everyday problem. Versus an event that I just heard about it, and I sent the same sales team that I had in Pune, I was building the company in Pune, I sent one of my sales guy to go out to a couple of venues and figure out what's happening in the event and venue industry in India. And we quickly figured out in the 6-7 weeks by meeting event managers and people who do sort of Holi and other events, that yes, there is no solution for them to do an event. Basic solutions, registration, payment processing, attendee communication was not there. And all these guys being running as an event manager, they had no idea how to build a website. Nobody was giving payment gateway that time. It's not as popular as it is now, right? So 2007-8, nobody was getting paid. So I quickly realized, sitting down in London, I quickly realized and mapped two countries or two locations and quickly realized that event industry is going to grow, right? So that's where my madness started, right? So I started believing the idea much before anybody else could, and I went out and started the bootstrapping. But that's where the problem also starts, because you are getting in an industry which is unorganized, nobody has done it before, so literally you will not be funded. So when you are in economic downturn, it becomes much more harder if you are getting to an industry which is unorganized, because there are no data points and there are no earlier examples. So everybody is going to say, no, I don't know about this industry. No, I don't know where are the data points. So the only way that you can do is bootstrapping. But that's a brilliant, and I still have a huge respect for Redbus for what they did. Like before 2005-6, for somebody as an engineer to go out and to reach out the bus operators and say, hey, here is a product, do you want to buy or do you want to install? People will not even treat you nicely. And they say, ticket like a bago, right? Whatever it is. But then they went and initially, though they got lucky with mentors and everybody else came in during that time. But then if you are in an economic downturn, my suggestion will be go out, figure out an industry which will help you to unearth it or organize it over the period of time, over the period of years, and build it right way. And take it granted that nobody is going to write your fund. So I would like to come up with the premises saying that start the companies in such a way that nobody is going to write me fund. It will be the best way to start. Because one, you will be very cost conscious. So way back in 2008, for me to build teams, it was easy because there were excess of people. I still remember some of my earliest employees who came in, they left pretty much good jobs in big companies because they were already in the receiving end. So I could hire people who were doing fantastic on Java, transform them to LAMP because I wanted to build a product in a LAMP and do in a very low cost. So I could build a team with less cost. I could build a team without too much of attention, because too much of attention is also not great to build companies, by the way. And it just distracts you what you want to solve versus what you want to be popular for. Right? I think what you want to solve is very important than what you want to be known in the market. Market will know you or your endeavors at a little later point of time. So in the economic downturn, these things such as cost, focus on customer. So it allows you to remain very agile, very focused on customers, find out real pain point case studies and then build up. I remember people coming and asking all possible things that you can build in 2008-9, and to give you examples, we have gone and done some mistakes like those. Two, for example, people will say, oh, why don't you build something around event, right? But that something around event is not even right at that point of time to be solved, right? We did try a couple of them and then say, you know what, forget about it. Just focus on what's working right now and get it better. So that fundamentals are going to be very strong because you don't have money. Your focus is to make money. Your focus is to make your customer happy. Your focus is to maximize your productivity, right? So that way it makes much easier. If you are a very productivity driven kind of personality or a team, it makes much easier to focus on those fundamentals than saying, let's throw money and get whatever it is. Let's show some numbers, because you might show numbers, you might get funded, but then what? Then what? You're getting cut. You're getting cut with your own pain and problem, and that's not somebody else's pain. So I think those couple of points helped us, and I believe similar things have happened in many other companies, such as HubSpot. They had started way back in 2007-8, and when the industry was going down, everybody was correcting their spending, digital marketing spending, saying why we should spend and where we should spend, and that's where the whole inbound marketing as a concept picked up rapidly, and in fact they got a right timed of inbound marketing becoming a worldwide phenomenon because of the down recession that was going on, and they could position the pain point rightfully. So those are the big 2 points, and then there is another thing that happens it should happen rightfully in the industry that doesn't happen many times, is that when 5 people get funded, 5 people end up doing all the mistakes. Each of them do the same mistakes because it's about competition, not about customers, right? But in the recessions, it's the other way around. It's the opposite end. You're not focused on your superheroes and Batmans and everybody. You're just focused on what you want to deliver, what your customer is asking, what your cost formula is telling you, what your analytics is talking about, how good it is and how good could be built, and those makes it much easier to build the team, tune the team, and then there are no external pressures. The external pressures that was going on, for example, I still remember 6 months back, hiring in startup was the biggest trouble. You can't hire people, right? Because everybody else who have been hugely funded will give you 10, 12 times and just, snatch people from the other, kind of pain point, but still taking time to build kind of product or idea. So recession gives everybody an equal leveler, right? Everybody's an equal. There are no superheroes, there are no Batmans. Everybody's a doer. And the doer who finds out the right sort of customer pain point and does it well is the team that's going to win, right? So those are my sort of quick one that I wanted to run. There are no theories or scientific numbers or other sort of fundamentals that I want to talk. I want to draw those points because I truly passionately believe that at this stage where we are as an ecosystem, as India, as a startup hub, I think we will build better companies if we go back to fundamentals. I still believe 37 Signals, what they did for their Basecamp product is awesome. I believe if India wants to be known as the same way we were known as IT services, like what Infosys and Cognizant, Wipro and TCS built, we can build thousands of such product-focused companies right from here. Could be SaaS, could be any model. But I think this is the time to refocus those, get those fundamentals right, and then go after those. Don't get disheartened by whether the angel likes it or not, whether the investor likes it or not. If you believe that there is a pain point, there are 5 customers this week, 10 customers in next month, and that, let's say 100 customers in another 3 months is liking the idea that you're building, take my word, it might take longer, it might take 3 years, 4 years, but you will build a business that you will be proud of, and you will be really enjoying the journey that you discovered yourself as an entrepreneur. So with that note, I end my talk. Thank you. Anybody has specific questions, please go ahead. Yeah. We could do that, right? Q&A is fine. Yeah.
Hello. At what point do you think about start raising fund?
Yeah. So to anybody I would suggest that. So I made a team. That's why the example that I started. I made a team who has an idea, but they've not got customers yet. So I think if you want to build an idea, yes, do come up with very minimal product or solutions or services. So I'll give you an example. I met a guy in Pune. He has left a well-paying job, and he came up and told me that on WhatsApp he's created a group. His services is to teach people English, and he's got 500 customers generated by having a group on WhatsApp, and customers as far as in Bangladesh are his customers. So he gets them on the WhatsApp, gets them on to talk, connect on a team viewer, and then he teaches them English. 500 customers, paying customers. So if you ask when I should go to investors, the question is, it will come back to you. Are you really certain that you've got a model that is working? How are you convincing yourself that your model is working? There has to be some fundamentals. That is, I started on 15th, let's say May, and by 20 or 15th June, I have 10 customers served, 3 customers liked it, 7 customers didn't like it. Hey, I'm going to spend another 2 months, and it's going to go to 10 customers. And out of that, I might have 3 customers who are paying me. Fundamentals are that. It's very simple. There are no logic there. When you have those numbers, now when you go back to an angel and say, hey guys, This is what I did. I spent 60 days. Here is the pain, here is the problem, here is the pain point, and I see a model there. At least get them into conversation first. That's how you should go.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Look, in real life, it's easier said than done, right? But in real life, how do you balance customer servicing vis-a-vis the investor and the competition pressure, right? What I mean to say is when you are running the tightrope, it really becomes tough, right? It's very easy to say that, you should service the customer, and that's the intuitive thing to do as well. But how do you balance it?
No, you're building the company for the investors, or you're building the company
So
for...
you have competition and investor pressure
No,
with you.
nobody builds a company for an investor.
I understand that. How do you balance it? I mean,
No, nothing to... Then that means that you are wrong investors. If you have to convince your investor that you are building a idea, then that means something has gone wrong. Don't ever build like that. If that situation happens, bring the customer to the table, talk about it, what you're building, how good it is, and why we should focus on that. Convince them to remain on your side with the customers. Forget about competition, customers.
Sir, one question for you, sir. Sir, what message do you have for the youngsters of today who are coming into business? Because there are people who have done management, there are people who have done MBA from great institutions. So what message do you have for students like us who are in 50s and 60% marks?
Yeah, marks has nothing to do with anything. So, and join startups.
And how do we make business? How do non-business people? How do they come into the field?
No, I think like a lot of people that you will speak. There are two other speakers who will be coming there. None of us from business family as such, and there are no business proven backgrounds. But I just did a MBA for the sake of it, for which I have not even got my certificate yet, and I don't have them care about it yet. Was an engineer, still an engineer, would be an engineer. So I don't think building business has anything to do with what your profession is. I think you need to find out what you are good at, learn those extra things that you are not good at, and drive the business.
So one message that you could give to the teenagers.
I don't know what the message to be. Like, I think you should be pursuing your passion, as simple as that.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you.
Santosh, I think you were talking about bootstrapping some other meeting also. I think when you were in UK, how you bootstrapped your company here. But how long do you think you should bootstrap? Again, the question is that.
So there are people,
telling
Sunil, who would come in one of the speakers, he's bootstrapped it to $1 million download apps on Apple Store, framed bootstrapping. 37 Signals have bootstrapped, only Jeff Bezos came as a investor. Without that also they could have bootstrapped for years and years. So I don't think that's I'm like, at the end of the day, you would decide what is working for your company. And if you think money becomes one of the criteria to sort of maybe change the path a bit, then you change your course of action. Otherwise, if you think the business is working without any external funding, don't take the fund. No point.
You said you started bootstrapping sitting in London. So how long you did that, and how long you took to quit your job?
Yeah, so I did it in a very odd way, so don't try that in home. I did it very odd way. So I had no money, literally no money, so I had to bootstrap for 3 years. And I had a contract job. So the moment I started the company, I left my full, sort of permanent job, because that was unethical. So I said, what, I'm going to go as a contract. So in London, I worked for many startups, many other companies as a contract. So 3 months, 4 months kind of contract. And then got that money, have a team in India, bootstrap it, woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, sleep at 11 o'clock, woke up at 5 o'clock again, 3 years running. So don't try that, very hard, very troubling.
Actually relate to that very well. In 2012-13, I was in London too, and I started a company. So I couldn't bear it. I couldn't run it for long. I ran it for a year, and then I came back to India, quit my job, and took it full time. So, and the service company which I started, it's running very well now.
Yeah, so if you can find out a balance, you can do it, but it's very tricky and very tough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Santosh. When did you realize that you had to approach external investors for Explara?
Yeah, so truthfully, when I really ran out of my money. So I came back to India and I had no money at all. So I walked into one of my friend home in Chennai, his childhood friend, and literally I had no money. So I still remember vividly. And he knew that I'm building this from long time, and that's where I got him as my first investor. And then literally when that happened, the company also, because I was bootstrapping, see the fundamentals are different. You know, when you're building a company where you have unorganized industry, a lot of those pain points, it's a different ball game altogether. So I realized that we have to go to fund to propel faster, and there is an industry that's stepping up ahead. So that's those combinations that I played out, saying no money, it's a right time to switch it on and go for funding.
Just one last question.
Hello, sir. I want to ask you, how did you go with the initial marketing for Explara?
Yeah, initial marketing, I've done a lot of marketing being on Twitter. So that's one of the only form of marketing that I knew. I write from 2008 March, so I've been on Twitter. And I realized who to connect. And because I came early, so I could build an influential network, people who talk on variety of other subjects, could follow them, could engage in the conversations, and that created a word of mouth about the endeavors that you do. And I think still it's a good form of building, which is what I'm running another sort of topic, which is product evangelism or startup evangelism, which is what I generally these days preach a lot, saying that don't build the startups only, but go out, connect people, start helping each other, and create a word of mouth about your own thing. And that happens when you do a good karma, people come back and do it the same. I use very general fundas there. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Up next, Pratyush from Magic X. Pratyush is going to speak about bootstrapping versus angel fundraising.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over. Thank you for a good talk, Santosh. My name is Pratyush. I run a company called Magic X. The URL is magicx.co. Magicx.com is a pawn site. So well, I mean, more than welcome to go there as well, but that's not what we do. What we do is we enable people to chat and do transactions. We do it by a mixture of artificial intelligence and bots, right? So, but this topic is different. This topic is something that at least the three of us are very passionate about, and which is why most of my examples will be for my last startup, which was a company called Plus Text, a local language text messenger. We started in 2011, around the end of 2011. August 2013, we got acquired by Paytm, and since then I had been with Paytm when I started Magic Tiger, right? So, Plus Text, when we started, it was pretty much like Santosh's story, where I had an idea and got that let's do this local language text messaging, and went ahead, talked to a few people. Everyone said that yeah, I talked to my mother in Hindi, I talked to my uncle in Odia, I talked to everybody in Urdu, all that, right? So we were like, okay, great, good idea. Let's just get started. So I kind of want to walk through my experience in 4 steps, which are ideas are worth 0, number 1. Second is funding is generally a means, it is definitely not an end. And someone who's coming after me is very inspiring in that sense because he's not kind of gone into that, the dark side, which at least I have to some extent. Then the third one is VCs generally don't know anything, right? So I'll tell you some instances of that. And are there any VCs here? Sorry. You know a lot. Thank you. But in case they aren't, then they don't know anything. And the last one is which is kind of a derivative of the first one, which is that if you can't do it, then nobody else can, right? So let me start with what does it mean by ideas are worth zero, right? Because so everyone has ideas, right? As Santosh started off saying that everyone has great ideas, right? Hostel for dogs, coding for Ola cab guys, everything, right? So, and I think all of us, especially in India, are very geared towards being entrepreneurial because the way that the economy has progressed and the way that we grew up, there were not a lot of opportunities if you're not like a bright student. It was, at least when I grew up, it was, my dad was like, IIT jao, doctor bano, ya fir IAS karo, right? There was only these three options, right? I got into one of them and, life kind of changed after that. But the idea was that usually there are not many options when you grow up. So a lot of us or a lot of us are actually trained that start something of your own and start to earn money. So for example, two of my cousins who actually went into business today earn more than me, at least on a annualized basis, right? So it's not like so in many cases, it's the way that India has shaped up in terms of evolution. Most of us are actually drawn towards entrepreneurship, which is great. Now is the time because of the advent of technology, which I think the sweet spot has been hit, where you have a lot of role models, a lot of mentors, and now a lot of money where you can go and execute, right? So coming back to my personal experience, when we started off, then great idea. Went to talked to about 100 people. Everybody said great idea. Start off. But when we started getting some amount of traction, started figuring out what to do, we realized that execution is the most important part of any idea, right? Like when I started off, unfortunately, I started working with a services company. That's a mistake that I personally think none of us should do, which is if you're building a tech company, you should build it yourself, right? So service company, again, like bootstrapped with a lot of my money and with a lot of my partners' money. We bootstrapped and the services company essentially sucked out almost half of it. Because for them, it is the incentives are that you get as much money as possible from a client. And for us, it was like get the product out as fast as possible, right? And in many cases, they don't believe in vision. They just believe that, it's like, they call it T&M, which is time and materials, and, get as much time and materials out of people, right? That was a cardinal mistake according to me. It's a classic mistake which we did, and we got screwed. Essentially, we got screwed both in terms of losing a lot of money, but more importantly, losing a lot of time to market, right? So then finally, we were like, okay, fuck it, let's just start from afresh. We will not do this, stupidity with them. Let's just start from zero again. Which is when I got a couple of guys from my team in SMS Gupshup where I worked for. Then I got a friend of mine who actually my brother used to work in InMobi. I got a colleague of his who led tech in plastics. And then we started getting real results in terms of the product started coming together. The tech started coming together. You could actually see, weekly releases going out. And then was the time to actually start the business development and start going after the market. In essentially 6 months that we had spent with, with a third party, in about 4 months we actually had the product out. Of course, a lot of thought evolution happened in the process, but the bottom line is that when you're spending your own money, when you're spending your own time, it is always better to take the risk of loss or success on you rather than on a third party. That's what we realized very hard way. And the idea was theirs, idea was ours, but the execution was theirs, which was not really kind of commensurate to the risk that we were taking with our time. But now that we started owning the idea, we were pretty much on an upswing to the extent that we had about, in the first 3 months we had 250,000 users, and by the time we got acquired, which was about 4 to 5 months later, we had about about 8 months later we had 1 million users, right? So what happened, at that time was that once you again have the upswing, there will be people who will be interested to put money in you. Because we had lost a lot of money upfront, so even though all of us didn't take salary, neither of us took salary, some of the others put money also. We were kind of burning through because we had interns, we had some amount of ads going on. So bootstrapping for us was going okay, but it was still being slow. So around January 2013, we had Mumbai Angels which put in some money in us. By that time, unfortunately, because I'm not a financially prudent person, I had allocated about 20 lakhs, and that was down to like the last 1 lakh before the Mumbai Angels money came in. In fact, some of the Mumbai Angels actually put in money before the term sheet had come in as well, because they believed that the product was good, right? The second part of that funding is not an end, is that when I started, we thought that 20 lakhs from me, 30 lakhs from my partner, between us, it'll be enough money to get a product out in the market. Almost inevitably, all those calculations will go wrong. Almost inevitably. It is never, it is never able to, easy to predict, especially how your money is going to burn through, right? Because, we never expected that we'll not get a product out after spending 20, 25 lakhs with the partner. So it's always better to take very regular checkpoints that you're not burning through cash very fast, especially because it's your own money, because you're being bootstrapped. People will come in only when everything is good, the momentum is good. It's like the last scene of DDLJ when the train is going, then only Kajol will come and run to Shah Rukh Khan. Without that, Shah Rukh Khan is like literally akele on the train, right? So you have to prepare for that. That it might be the case that the train is going, the investors, which is Kajol in this case, can't run too fast to meet you. The train might leave. So all those situations you have to be ready for. Third, which I wanted to talk about, is venture capitalists, right? So that is a topic which is close to heart, because I've raised venture capital 2 times, and it generally hasn't been a pleasant experience, because most of the VCs that are there in India are typically people who have come from B schools. I'm Calcutta, so I can't bitch about that too much. But in general, these are people who don't have a lot of operational experience. It's very difficult to convince them that this is where the road is going to go, right? For example, today morning, so the business that we are in today is artificial intelligence enabled bots, which, as some of you might know, Facebook introduced a platform for last week, right? Google, Twitter, everyone has kind of said that that's where the future is going, even Microsoft. There was an article yesterday by some journalist in the US who generally writes on topics of tech, which said that the present bot experience is not great, right? So yesterday yesterday evening, this VC sends that to me and gives a smiley saying that bots are not there yet. I said my response to that was, yeah, bots are not there yet, but every time there is a new technology that comes in, there are people who will doubt that, right? Like when early website came in, it was very rudimentary, right? Like there are some websites which were like, you can't even believe that there are like websites like that when they started. Even when the apps came out, the earliest or the most popular apps are alarm clocks and all those stupid usage of apps, right? So, but people who took the leap of faith at that time are very, very big companies now. So my point was that if you take the leap of faith on this, which is going, where the momentum of the world is, then, because you'll be the first mover, you'll be the winner, right? So his point was that, but this journalist says that it's not great right now. I said, okay, so you have 2 options. One is you believe this journalist who's, on his experience has written this article. Or the second is you believe the CEOs of Facebook, Google, Twitter, and take that leap of faith. So if you take the first option, at least don't call yourself a VC. Even if you call yourself a VC, don't call yourself technologically enabled. You are retarded, right? So unfortunately, that's the kind of people that you will have to deal with, who are not on the top of their game. Sometimes they have to give you money, so you have to be good to them. But overall, my thought is that if there is somebody who can execute it, if you have an idea that you believe in, go all for it. Set aside some money. More importantly, set aside some time. But go for it. Like, don't let yourself be distracted by generally naysayers, or or people who say that this is not going to work, this is not going to work, etc. About 70 to 80% of people who you will meet will say that this is not going to work, by the way, generally. It's a very, very awesome experience when you come back to them after it has worked and say, fuck you.
right? It's a very good experience. It's just like a liberating experience. So believe in your dreams in most cases. Bootstrapping is a good way to do it, but there is no black and white. It's very gray area. I personally believe that I've been lucky enough to get external money in and grow to a larger level to some extent. But there is if you ask me if I would bootstrap my next startup or raise money initially and do it, there is no clear answer for me at least. Santosh and Sunil have better answers because they have done it from like zero and up. But in my case, I don't think there is an answer. If you get external money, great. Don't dilute too much. I mean, this is common sense, right? Don't dilute too much. Don't give too much authority. But at the same time, if you can grow from 100 to 1,000 with an infusion of funds, go for it. And that's pretty much from my side in terms of what I wanted to cover. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer, both on personal experience, general GAN. Yeah. Sorry, just one second. You asked about what college students should do, right? I was telling Sunil that I think the first thing you should do is drink lots of alcohol, because the kind of friends that you make over alcohol are the people who are going to be a lot of help for you later in the future. I mean, not necessarily alcohol. You can also do a lot of other stuff, but generally try to make a lot of friends, because they are the ones who will stand beside you and go further with you. Don't think too much about live with the moment. Don't think too much about if this is the killer idea. I'm pretty sure Zuckerberg didn't start off with Facebook as the killer idea. It was something that worked. Go slowly, take it as it comes. Sorry, he had a question. Yeah. Corpus, yeah.
So at that point of time, there are two options you had at your disposal. First was to build a team which can build a product. Second thing was to get the product as soon as possible so that you can go to the market and all. By intuition, I feel the second option would work out, because you won't have the overhead of hiring a team, training them, and you wouldn't know how long you have to employ them, right? So how do you take a decision? Say that I have some amount of money with me and have two options, either to build a team or build a product. And the right, or what say, the option which makes sense to me right now is to build a product, because there are no overheads. But by the example which you gave, I think it's a risky option, because you are getting the product built by the people who don't own it. So how to balance it out, or how to take a decision? Are there any third variables which I am not aware of?
No. I mean, I think those are the two, and with limited money, right? That's like the third variable. So this is my personal experience and something I strongly believe in, which is that at the end of the day, what you are is what your product is, right? Strongly. But you cannot build it without a team that is passionate, in the sense that if it is a team that is passionate, they will build it in 4 months, 3 months. If it is not, then they most probably will not be able to build it, no matter how great a leader you are, right? So also at the same time, people keep saying this, that if you cannot convince at least 3 people or 4 people about your idea and let them work with you, how will you convince people to buy it and use it, right? So that's usually reflective of how your product comes out as well. So even like for Magic X, the first thing I did was build a very strong core team and get it running. There are 2 advantages of that. One is that it makes you redundant to some extent. As long as you can imbibe what story, what your vision is, you can literally like today, 2 days a week I go for sometimes fundraising, sometimes other meetings, presenting. Still, I know that it will be autopilot because these guys know what to do. It is not going to be the case when you are with a third party, right? The second thing is that your both in terms of time and money. Time is what I told, but money expenditure also will be lesser. Today, everybody in my company, everybody works for no salary or a lesser salary than what they were getting, with the assumption that when it's Series A or the next round of fundraise comes, everybody will be topped up to that kind of salary. Just to give you a benchmark, right? We do almost the same amount of transactions as, let's say, our 2 other competitors, which are Haptic and HelpChat. HelpChat is a 2,000 people company. Haptic is a 300 people company. We are a 30 people company. So, if you build the right team, you don't need that many people to, achieve what you really want to do.
Instead of bootstrapping, do you think joint venture capital is an option for people who are depending upon others' money, or joint venture capital would be just a startup for some kind of people?
What is joint venture capital? As in, somebody gives you money. Santosh said that nobody is going to give you money. Even your dad is not going to write you a check if there is nothing, in the works, right? So, if somebody is ready to give you money, of course you should take it. There is no two ways about it. But generally, nobody is going to give you money upfront. It's very tough.
What if I ask money on the basis of a great idea that I have?
So that age is kind of gone now, in the sense that when you could raise money in terms of an idea, that particular phase is sort of gone now. Mostly you will have to show something with a bit of traction, with a bit of momentum, that people will put money in you. Having said that, there are still VCs who are on the lower IQ curve. So there will be people who will put money on stupid shit, but don't bank on it.
If you go to 1 million downloads, how do you generate that differentiate yourself? See, new people will be coming into this bots and all, as in your case. So what is it that, how do you maintain your market share or keep people interested in using your product? So what this general idea, how you would with startups who initially may get a good, response from the market, but how do they continue to connect with their audience when competitors start moving into that particular?
So generally, as a very generic, because it's a generic question, the answer is also sort of generic, which is that in order to differentiate, you have to differentiate it either in terms of technology or experience or both, right? So in our case, we try to differentiate in terms of the experience, which is also reflective of the core underlying technology, right? Like in our case, a lot of the bots are very intelligent. The responses are generally very, very intelligent. They don't ask you the same stupid questions again. If you have, like for example, we have food and groceries. If you have ordered chicken on groceries ever, in food, when you come in, we will first show you non-veg items, right? So it's cross in, the intelligence that you can gather cross sectors is also very important. So, but incremental intelligence is usually neglected, but it's very, very important because UX is based on that, according to me. But overall, when competition comes in, usually it's good to have first mover, which we are getting right now. But when competition comes in, just kill them either by momentum or with a great experience. I think that's the two ways to go about it. I don't know if it answered your question, but yeah, there's one question there.
If you could talk about a couple of examples around how did you growth hack like very, very early in both of your startups?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking. So in PlusText, which was a local language text messenger, we had a lot of very good growth hacks, right? We had this girl who was just like a graduate, like just passed out of college, and she was excellent, right? And local language, it was a local language text messenger. So what she did was she created a lot of Facebook profiles, and because it was local language, she created in those in movies and soap operas of those languages. Like if it is Hindi, she would create one profile which was, let's say, some Sharma in Hindi, and go and post only content on those particular sites. Like for example, she would go and in today's context, she would go and post on the fan movie page that hey, that was a great movie. She'll go and post on some other reviews, some other serials, whatever. But this is great, great, great. So for about maybe a month or so, seed it with content, and then go and pitch that this was posted through PlusText. This was posted through that, so that people don't kind of discount you. So that was a great thing that we did, which was reaching out to people through content and then market your product, because then they will not take you as spam. So it's very important to do that on social media, especially now Twitter also, you can do a lot of that. The second thing that we did was, I think in today's age when people ask you CAC and all that, it's great, but they are automatically assuming that the only way to get marketing for your product out is online, which I totally differ, right? For us, a lot of our initial users on PlusText and a lot of the regular users were people whom we reached out offline. Like we had pamphlets in which we circulated in Gujarati societies in Bombay, Tamil societies in Gujarati society outside in Gujarati outside the stock market, and in some Tamil specific Tamil societies, because targeting is very specific, because you know that everybody in this society, even if it is in Bombay, speaks in Tamil. So just go and and they will read it because it's in Tamil. They don't usually see stuff in Tamil, right? And Gujarati, if you circulate something outside the stock market, people take it big time. In fact, to the extent that almost 20 to 30% of our messages on some days were stock market messages written in Gujarati, right? So I think offline is something that most of us don't really look at. If you do intelligent marketing around the same, it's got a lot of potential. But it depends on your product as well, right? So it depends on what product you're selling. In our case, just because it was a local language kind of flavor, it was very easy to do that. Even, for example, in what we're doing in MagicX right now, we had a lot of interns from different colleges, like 6 interns actually, from colleges in Delhi, Jaipur, some places in Maharashtra and Bangalore. We made each of them, brand ambassadors and asked those people to do recharges, right? Because recharges is typically a easy, low-hanging fruit for people to get on board to experience something. And a lot of our core population still is in those colleges. We have about 100,000 odd users now, but about 25,000 are core from those colleges still. So yeah, I mean, offline, according to me, is something that a lot of people should look at when do that. Yeah. Yes, okay.
What should I prefer, that learn from others' experience, or I must by myself and can be what's gonna happen?
I mean, if you can learn from others' experience, great. But generally, you don't.
Suppose somebody has failed already, and I believe that I can do it better, and my inner voice is saying that I can do it. So what should I do?
It's a tough question usually, because it depends on a lot of other factors that are there around you, to be truthful. It is obviously very good to be confident, because I think personally, I think a lot of the successful and a lot of the entrepreneurs I've seen are extremely confident and positive. Otherwise, they will not do it, right? But at the same time, you really have to be realistic, because if something is not taking off, you have too much time, might as well just, because at the end of the day, there is only one asset that every one of us has, and that's time. It is not money, it is not knowledge, it is not IIT, anything. It is just your time. So respect your time. If you think the time is being utilized well, go ahead and do it. Do we have more?
What factors made you sell the last company when it was successful?
Usually there is just one big factor, which is money, right?
Is that the only one?
So the way it happened was that the genesis of what happened for PlusText was that because of our usage, we started licensing stuff from 197, which was the biggest VAS company. So we started licensing stickers, ringtones, and they saw that we were the largest vendor already. So they wanted to invest in us. So the investment discussion then said that if you're investing in you at this particular valuation, why don't you take 2 times of that and join us and acquire? So that's how the conversation happened. It was a decent amount of money at that time. The price at which we got acquired in 2013, by the time I left Paytm, that was almost 10x, so which is great, because then we all made 10x of what we got acquired for. So overall, it worked out good, touch wood. But yeah, working with a bigger team, money, all that is. Yeah.
Shut down in the first year of operations. Now, when you worked for a good amount of years, say 4 or 5 years, you made a bunch of friends and colleagues, so who understand you, the kind of passion which you talk about. So, when talking about bootstrapping, you can borrow steal. You will end up, raising funds from friends and family. We have to also understand that most of the startups are shut down. Is this the right way of begging, borrow, and stealing funds from your friends and family, or raising funds from private investors when you have thousands of investors? Because everyone who has a crore rupee in a bank balance considers themselves as a investor.
Yeah. So that's a very good question and very relevant also, right? Because a part of bootstrapping is also asking your family, friends, some people who believe in you for money. And I personally have not taken that route, in the sense I've never taken money from my family or generally from my friends, because generally I didn't need that much amount of money to get something started. However, what a lot of people have told me who have done that is that if you can convince your family, you're not telling them to invest in Pratyush, you're asking them to invest in Pratyush as well as the idea of plus text, right? Right? If Pratyush is going to go on a honeymoon tour around the world, I'm pretty sure your family is not going to pay money for it, right? So you should basically be able to convince friends, family that put in some amount of money. It might or might not set the expectations right that it might or might not get you any returns. If that is set, then I think you should do it. I personally haven't done it for a lot of different reasons, but I think if you can convince them that and tell them that you put in 5 lakhs, you will never see this 5 lakhs again. But if you are willing to take that risk, then this 5 might become 50 because I'll give you. So coming back, let me tell you something, right? I have also invested in a few companies and do some amount of angel investment. Angel investing is very highly unappreciated in India, by the way. In most cases, you don't even get a return for the same reasons. 80-90% of them shut down. However, even if you do get a return, the next guys who come are, again, our good friends, the VCs. They squeeze everything out of, especially the angel investors, right? Because initially the angel investors have a lot of equity. They basically tell that, okay, take 3x and go. When they're going to invest in that same startup at 10x, right? So it is a very, but at the same time, your friends, most angel investors are friends with the founders. They want you to succeed, which is why they put the money in the first place. So it works both ways, right? That, ideally, I think you should take money from whoever is giving it, whether it is friends, family, angel investors, as long as the guy in front knows what the risks are. Having said that, because they have taken the risk with you upfront, you should also reward them appropriately when the time comes, because it works both ways, right? So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Hi. Once we have idea, to start with to develop, what are the best ways, to attain the team, being specific? It could be technical team, developers, or marketing. What are the best approaches? What are the, places where
I think you should just getting the team as soon as possible, primarily to build the product. What will you market if you don't have a product, right? So get the product team in place, get the tech team in place. If that is a tech product, if it is something else, then it's a different thing. But generally, start building the team. That is what is going to get you the product, which you can then go and market. It's as simple as that. Okay, I think last question. Yeah.
You said that time is the most important thing we have. So
No, it's the only thing you have. It's the only thing you have. Yeah.
In that context, what's more important? Looking at reducing time to market or bootstrapping for as long as possible?
So time to market is dependent on where the maturity of your product is, typically. Bootstrapping is dependent on how fast you want to grow at some stage. In some cases, you might have a product that is self-sustaining, right? Like Sunil will talk about his product, which is a very good example of how self-sustained products grow very fast virally anyways. In general, the reason why people take money is to have like a quick growth and then go from that line and above, right? So ideally, if you can raise money and if that grows from 100 to 10,000, then you should take that money and grow from 100 to 10,000, assuming it won't fall back to 100 again, which is what happens with people like PepperTap, etc. Right? But if you think you can grow from 100 to 10,000 and continue from 10,000 to above, by all means take money. So yeah, that's what the short answer is. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I will be outside for the next.
We need just 2 minutes to set up the laptop. Sunil has a presentation.
Hello everyone. Are you guys still cheered up to hear one more story? Awesome. First of all, I admire Santosh. I've seen Santosh working on his startup for almost more than 4 years, at least since I know him. Again, he has done a great job. I think he's a true hustler. I'm sure you have learned a lot from him. Pratyush the same. It's his second startup. He has done his first startup, went in and worked for another corporate after the acquisition, and he is back to doing his second startup, right? So that tells you that entrepreneurship can be addictive to some people. Okay, so now coming back to you, I just want to quickly get a check on how many of you are working in startups right now? Okay, so almost like 50%. How many of you have founded your own startup? Okay. And how many of you are thinking of joining a startup or doing their own startup? Awesome. Okay, that gives me a quick sense of what I should be talking about in the next 15-20 minutes. So a quick intro about myself. I'm Sunil Patro, founder and CEO of a company called Sign Easy. And what we essentially do is enable companies and people not to worry about paperwork anymore whenever there is something important that needs to be signed, right? A simple example would be is as a CEO, I need to sign offer letters. I need to sign NDAs and agreements with a lot of vendors and agencies. I need to sign a lot of contracts related to legal, commercial, and so forth. And as a CEO, you could be very busy, you could be traveling on the road, and you don't want to be delaying any sort of important paperwork that could essentially make you lose a deal, right? And Synergy allows me to be able to sign this document electronically from my smartphone, a tablet, or a web. So that's where I'm going to go back and talk a bit about the history of the company. So almost about 6 years ago, I was in between jobs. I was an engineer myself. I was in between jobs, and I decided, okay, hey, why not make use of the time and go for a break, right? People love to travel, right? And who would want to lose the time when they can afford to travel? So, and then I was in Mexico on a beach, and I got an offer letter that pretty much told me, like, hey, here is a 10-page document. Go to the document. We need you to sign this and accept, send us a confirmation as soon as possible. And then I struggled a bit. I had to almost run around, looking for a shop where I could find a printer, print it out, sign it, and then I could fax it back, right? And I had very limited Spanish knowledge at that time. It took almost a couple of hours, and I had to spend almost like $30 just to be able to put a signature on a piece of paper, right? And we are talking about days when iPhone had just come out, probably a year ago the iPhone had come out. And that's where the idea came to me, is that, hey, there could be a better solution about this, right? Why can't I draw a signature, open the document on my phone, and actually put it in a secure and a safe manner and be done with it? So I can continue to enjoy my travels and not worry about this simple paperwork that I have to complete. So that idea stayed back in my mind for a while. Ultimately I joined the job for which I have to accept the offer letter, right? But that's when I realized, I had always been looking to build something on my own. It's not about, being an entrepreneur, right? It's most of the good ideas come to you when you want to solve something that is very personal to you. Because when something is very personal to you, you don't think about how long will it take, how much money will you make, or do you even have the skills to complete that job? Because you know that, if you're a smart guy and if you have persistence, and you know that, you could, in these days of online knowledge, you could learn anything you want to learn, or you could seek out mentors where you could find, how to go about it, right? And that's what I decided, okay, I should quit my job and go and start building this product, right? Not even a company, not even a business. And over the next few years, in the first 2 years, I decided to come back to India. And that's where I was forced, like when we talk about bootstrapping or not bootstrapping, sometimes the circumstance actually forces you to take a path, right? And I'd come back to India for personal reasons and decided, okay, I should just continue to run this company on the side. But obviously, I had pretty much saved up I used all of my saved money in the first 2 years of this company. So I took up a job during the daytime for a year and wanted to give myself some more time. Hey, how long can I take this further? And fortunately, we were solving a problem that was pretty much applicable to anybody anybody around the world, whoever needs to, he's either working in a job or has his own business, because, you're not going to stop signing contracts because that is something fundamental to reaching an agreement, whether it's between two people or between two companies or between a company and a person. So we saw a lot of traction on the site, right? So the app had been released on the App Store on iOS, and we were getting organically a lot of downloads. We were getting noticed by Apple in terms of, hey, we are solving a unique problem. They were featuring us in many more categories and collections. And then we hit a point where we were making a bit of money, right? So until then, it was essentially my salary from the daytime job that I was reinvesting back into the company. And then once we were making enough money that I could replace that with my own salary, obviously not the same market salary I was getting, but at least that could help me sustain my life, and some other people that were involved, in terms of engineers and designers who were running the company. Until mid of 2013, we were still a very lean company, just 2 or 3 full-time staff, and everybody else was, on a project on a gig basis, right? But mid 2013 is when we got accepted into Microsoft Ventures accelerator, and we started thinking about, hey, it's not a product anymore. That we need to start thinking about how can we make a company or a business out of it, right? So that's where you as an entrepreneur have to start thinking about, it's not just the idea anymore. Now you have to start thinking about how do you go after getting customers? How do you charge the customers? How do you support these customers? How do you make sure that you have created a engineering organization, whether it's 3 or 5 or 10, that doesn't matter, but you need to be able to constantly listen to customers' input, customers' uses of your product, and look at what else you think that could extend the capability of the product, so you can keep releasing them in a continuous iterative manner, right? And that was important for us to realize that, because that kind of helped me, because I'm a first-time entrepreneur, right? And you don't learn entrepreneurship by going to a business school. You just learn it by doing it yourself. And that experience was very important for me to evolve as an entrepreneur. And then what happened is, over the next, we graduated out of 2013's accelerator batch. Over the next 2 years, we started building the company by hiring more people, thinking about what other problems can we solve, how can we make it a product that the customers are using, but they're willing to pay, right? Because ultimately what happens is, if you want to run a bootstrap company, or the way I call it is more like, where is your source of money coming from? In the first few years, it was coming from my own pocket. In the next few years, either it can come from an investor or it can come from a customer. So you have to make the decision based on the reality. I'm going to talk a bit about in terms of how you can keep it sustainable by just going the bootstrap way, but you have to do a lot of things beforehand to choose that path. So here's a quick overview of what we have done so far. We have grown over to 3.5 million downloads on the App Store across iOS, Android, and on the web. And one of the things we did was always stay up to date in terms of cutting edge innovation, right? And that's one of the primary reasons why organically we have gotten so many downloads, because Apple has recognized us like many times over a period of a year, where they kind of talk about the 10 next gen apps for business, the top apps recommended by Apple's editorial staff for small businesses in terms of simplifying their life and business. Similar things happened in terms of when we got an opportunity to be featured in an official iPad commercial. And those are the things you kind of tell you that you're doing the right thing, and your customers are finding the value, and they're able to kind of pay for the product. That reinforces that, okay, you should keep doing it. As a team, I think you have to decide, if you're a bootstrap team, how do you want to build where do you want to hire your people, right? Fortunately, we are a global product. That means we earn in dollars, but we spend in rupees, right? And that is something you have to keep in mind, is again the reality. Who are you? Where are your customers based? And that worked out for us. That's why we have the entire R&D team is based in Bangalore, while a very small marketing and support team is based in the US, because you need to have your support and sales team where your customers are, because they speak the language. You need to start supporting them between 9 to 6 business hours in your customer's time zone. And same thing goes about marketing and strategy, right? You need to be able to stay very close to your customer in terms of how he is using the product. Get a sense of, it's not just based on your analytics. It's also some of the signals that you get in a hidden manner, right? Your customer may be talking about something, or he may be using it in a certain way. He's not going to explicitly tell you that feedback. You as the founder or the product manager or somebody needs to kind of inherently figure out what else you could be simplifying or solving for that customer. So that's how our team is kind of lean in terms of heavy on India side and lean on the US side. So here I'll get to key 4 to 5 points, right? First is this notion of what an MVP and what an MSP is. Then I'll talk about a little bit of early monetization, how you should not shy away from charging for your product. You should never feel like that your product is to be given out cheap, because it inherently there's a lot of cost in terms of money, infrastructure, engineering, talent that gets used to build this product, right? Second is the third point is more about engagement and retention, and I'll talk about why building a global product is very important if you want to run the business in a bootstrapped manner. How many of you have seen this chart? Cool. So I won't spend too much time on this, but essentially the idea of building an MVP is, if you're starting out in a startup, is can you get the maximum amount of learning that is validated from a customer in the least amount of time and money, because you want to kind of test your hypothesis, sometimes maybe by building an early prototype code, or maybe sometimes by just building a design prototype, right? Not even write a single line of code. Sometimes maybe you can just build it by just putting a landing page. You have to do it in your own manner, whatever is appropriate for you to test that MVP. So MVP gives you the ability, you got the MVP, you start building the product, you show the first version to some customers. Great, right? They're using it, they say that, yes, I would use this. But that's what the catch is. People would say that they would use it, but when people use it, are they using it as a vitamin or a painkiller? And sometimes, right, vitamins, we use it, if we have money, we'll buy some vitamins, we're fine with it. But if it is a painkiller, we will go out to the store and we'll pay for it. Doesn't matter how expensive it is. So that's where you have to figure out, once the MVP is done, can you build a set of features or use cases or the so-called scenarios, customer scenarios, that makes sense for the customer to buy it now. And sometimes it could be, in a B2B scenario, it's very easy, right? You could build some admin capabilities. You could build some workflow integrations around the set of tools that your customer is already using. Sometimes you could be just building, some sort of, you could create a sense of perceived sense of loss. If tomorrow, if they stop using the product, or if you pull the product out of the market, can you project an image where they'll feel like they're losing, they're losing their peace of mind, right? So some of those early features you have to build to start charging. And the earlier you can get to an MSP, the longer you can hold back in terms of raising money. And we were able to do that within the 6 months of launching the product. We launched in July 2010, and by end of November or December of 2010, we start charging a bit. And like again, first-time entrepreneurs, App Store economy was very, very nascent. Nobody knew what kind of pricing works. So it was a free product, great traction. Now we start charging for it. We charged $2.99. And we saw, great, people are paying for it, right? But it's like, you buy for $2.99, you can use it forever, because we didn't know what's going to happen, right? We didn't even know how much of our cloud costs in terms of infrastructure, how many engineers we'll need, do we have to design something else in future? We never knew, right? But at least we're happy that somebody is willing to pay. That shows you the sense of, somebody sees value in it. And then around September of 2011, we said, I think $2.99 is too cheap. We learned a bit about our own customers. We saw that, we looked at the profile of our customer base. We said, I think these guys can pay a bit more. We also looked at pricing in terms of other business apps or productivity apps in the App Store. We said, okay, let's change it to $10 one time. Great, we didn't see any decrease in terms of, conversion, right? People who use it for free and how many of them convert to a paid version, we didn't see any decrease in the hit rate, in the conversion rates. Great, so we kept on going until a time came around July 2012. We were looking at it, hey, we are not a standalone product anymore. It's not a vitamin anymore, it's a real painkiller. Then we looked at the realities of our costs, right? We are a cloud-based service. That means we have infrastructure costs, we have support costs, and these customers are like entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals. They need support if something doesn't work. So we started thinking that it's not an app anymore. Many times you can start thinking of it as an app, but sometimes your customer feedback and the reality of a business will help you gravitate towards what's your real business. So then we realized that we're actually a cloud-based so-called software as a service. It's just that people are using us through the app, through the mobile device. That's why it's an app. So the medium is an app, but ultimately it's a solution. And that means you have to start talking about your product's value proposition in a similar manner. And that means we changed our pricing to annual pricing, right? It was $10 one time for lifetime. We said, now let's make it $10 per year and see what the customer feedback is coming out to be. So we got a lot of negative reviews immediately. At least, people who would have seen the reviews on the App Store, they would say, what happened? Suddenly the pricing changed. So there we kind of had to hold our grounds and say, look guys, we are building this for the long term. We are building this with our own money. And it takes a lot of effort to, not what the product's form at this point it is, but we are going to be building a lot more features to help you make sure that you never have to touch physical paperwork anymore, right? And we stuck to our, I would say, belief. And obviously, there was a little bit of time period where we saw a decrease in terms of purchases and downloads. But we were able to come out of it because of our perseverance to keep on iterating the product, releasing it more and more. And then, when you charge money for your product, you have to believe that you have reached a product market fit. Until then, there's no product market fit. Whoever that market is, whether it is 1,000 users or 100,000 users or a million users, the fact that somebody is willing to pay, you have got a product market fit. But you can't restrict yourself at that product market fit, because obviously you are building a company for a much bigger market, right? You want your hard work to be used by millions and tens and hundreds of millions of people. So product market fit is a continuous iteration again. The way your product is a continuous iteration in terms of MVP, your product market fit is also an iteration. Can you start expanding your market around your customer base? And with that, you reach a point where it's not meant for individual buyers anymore. then it becomes a solution for business owners or so-called micro entrepreneurs. Then it can become a solution for your small businesses. Then it can become a medium business. Or sometimes it can apply to be, it can be a solution for a department in a large organization, right? That means these guys have higher purchasing power. So based on those traction, we were able to increase the price point to $30 per year, then $40 per year, and you could see over a period of time, our revenue run rate was increasing, our monthly revenue run rate was increasing, and that was the main reason why we haven't taken any external capital so far, right? But we are not a bootstrap company anymore. No? The way I call this is now a customer-funded company. Ultimately, somebody has to fund your company's operations, and the earlier you can get to the customer, the less pressure you have in terms of, like you as a company will be a long-term company if customer pays for it. So you don't have to keep raising future rounds of money, or you may have to, like sometimes you have to grow at a certain rate because somebody else is looking at financial returns of your hard work, right? But when it is customer funded, you can decide your own growth. Nobody is going to tell you you have to grow 2x, 3x, or X% month over month, because you know that your customers are increasing in terms of numbers, and your customers are happy to pay for a product. They are coming back and renewing their contracts with you. That means you are building a valuable solution. The last point was globalized product, right? If you look at many mobile apps or mobile solutions, you will see that app stores give you like one of the most, I would say, like unheralded channels to get your product out to the rest of the market, to the rest of the world, right? It's not limited to your own country. And that means you have to start thinking about how countries like China, Japan, the Spanish-speaking countries like Latin America, Spain, Portugal, and stuff. Similarly, in the Asian countries, which is the Southeast Asian economies, these are the ones which are mobile-first economies, right? Especially Latin America and Asia are mobile-first. And these guys, the first thing they do is, hopefully they'll have a data connection, and whenever they want to do something, they would like to download an app and try it out. So, and our belief is that, like paperwork is universal, right? So we realized that we have to localize it way early. So the first thing we did in the first 6 to 7 months of launching the product was we localized it to Spanish, right? Spanish is one of the second or third most used language in the world. And similarly, we extended that in terms of up to 15 languages over the last 5 years, where we see that more than 50% of customers are from non-English speaking countries, right? And that's a clear signal, because if you look at it, US has probably 200 million smartphone connections, but India is way ahead of that. China is close to 500 million. Similarly, if you look at Asian economies, Southeast Asian economies, numbers lie in that range. So you have to start thinking about localize it first as soon as possible, and it's very easy to do it now because of this SaaSification of different tools available for localization. And revenues wise, right, you can start charging differently, right? So on Google Play, you can charge differently for the India market versus Australia, because different economies have different purchasing powers. So you could take advantage of different purchasing powers. It's good that you can earn in dollars and euros, and then leverage that in terms of building your team and run the company that you want to run instead of any external expectations. So that has worked out for us. More than 80% of revenue comes from English-speaking countries. But then, what are the other 20% come from? 50% of downloads or users in the non-English-speaking countries still matters to us, because every money is important for you to hire the next engineer, the next designer, whoever your team needs. Again, these are some of the companies who use SignEasy. We have people who are like CEOs, execs, executive staff, consultants, entrepreneurs, micro-entrepreneurs, small businesses. Pretty much we are used by more than 100,000 paid users around the world. More than few million users and few million downloads around the world. And we are very fortunate to where we have come so far. The last thing I would say is when you're running a company, it doesn't matter bootstrapped or funded or whatever it is, right? Customer is the first thing that comes to your mind, right? Customer first, employee second, then investors, right? And then of course it's you, right? It's your own personal journey because you almost tend to blur the line between your life and the company's life. So the less influence other people have, the better control you can have. Otherwise it becomes much more blurrier. So, and we treat our customer testimonials very seriously, right? Sometimes the customer testimonials will talk about they love our product. Sometimes they'll say, it's too expensive, or they'll say, I would like you to do X, Y, and Z. But ultimately, you put your own filter on it, right? You put your own filter, okay? Whatever the customer is asking for doesn't mean you'll do everything. Because sometimes, like there's a saying, right? I think the founder of Ford said, if people wanted at the time, they would have said they wanted a faster horse or something like that, right? But ultimately, what they're looking for is a better way for them to transport themselves, right? So be careful about, I would say not be careful, but be extremely particular about hearing your customer's feedback. Take that into account. Does it align with your long-term plan of the company? Does it align with, do you want to even solve the enterprise market, right? Sometimes you are just inherently passionate about solving a consumer problem. Sometimes inherently passionate about solving a specific problem in your own vertical. You don't want to pivot, let's say, right? You don't want to go to a different industry just because you have to show a certain growth rate. So all these things, filters you have to apply when you're looking at this customer feedback. And there is one thing I would like to end with, which is ultimately it's your journey, right? You're trying to create your own path. That's one freedom that you get when you're starting in a company. So bootstrapping, family and friends funding, VC funding or customer funding, you'll make the right decision that aligns with your customer's life and your life. It's something that you can do it. Maybe one company will do it in one manner. The second company will do it in a different manner. No path is the same for all these entrepreneurs. Thank you. Happy to take any questions. It's a freemium app. So there is no single answer to this, but one thing I could say is, whenever something is giving you a free, they're probably taking something else from you that you're not aware of, right? Whether it's advertising or your data or whatever it could be, right? So we have seen there are companies which have free solutions in the market. They don't give you a business grade solution. When I talk about business grade solution, if you lose your device, if you change your email account, what happens to all the important contracts that you have signed? Well, let's say in a company, one of the employee leaves, sales guy leaves, and he has certain contracts in his account. Somebody needs to have access to get those documents or change the license from one email to different email ID. So we provide all of these features that help your business keep going. It's not about, it's a standalone solution. Sorry, I think I may have lost my voice, but I'll try to speak a bit slowly. If you deliver enough value, if you deliver enough innovation, if you deliver enough support for your customers, they're willing to pay for it. Right? And we have seen this as a business, right? Like we use a lot of free email tools, but we also have ways where we also use paid email tools. Like I'm talking about transactional APIs, transactional email APIs, because we know that we get better delivery, we get better customization, and so-called things that suit our business needs. So you have to figure out, there are situations where an entirely free product can take away your market, but that doesn't mean you should give it away for free. I mean, nobody can speak for what's going to happen in the future, right? But if you should believe that you're creating enough value for your customer, and you should charge for it. If you're not charging, people may think that yours is an inferior product, or you may shut down in a month, who knows, right? So.
You mentioned that you mentioned microsensors.
Yeah.
One accelerator. There are a lot of debates going on whether one should join an accelerator or not. Because in return they ask a lot. Now,
Who?
the accelerator.
Any accelerator?
No, some of the accelerators.
Okay.
They ask by companies or whatever. So how was the learning experience in microsensors, and do you think one should join an accelerator?
I think what you're looking for is, so there's incubators, accelerators. Essentially what you're looking for is a set of resources who you are not able to afford at your stage of the company, right? So, like we joined Microsoft Ventures Accelerator because I was pretty new to India. I didn't have a good professional network. So I had spent all my 10 years of professional life in the US. So for me it was getting connected with a bunch of other founders and a bunch of other like designers or business mentors or advisors. So they were able to give me that. Of course, free office space. The third thing was, once you're in a similar set of like-minded people, it's kind of self-encouraging, self-motivating, because you know that it can be a very lonely journey in the first few years, because you'll be banging your head, why am I not getting customers? Why am I not able to solve this problem in an effective, in an efficient manner? So seeing that same problem is faced by other people keeps you in the same boat. So you should think about the real reason you are joining an incubator accelerator. There are accelerators who have provided good support for first-time entrepreneurs. If you're a first-time entrepreneur, you don't know how to go about certain things, you should definitely evaluate joining an accelerator. Yeah. But at what cost? That's something you have to answer for yourself. But you should talk to people who have gone to those accelerators and get their own first-hand feedback. My experience was pretty good, no? So I joined the accelerator because Pratyush was in the second batch and I was in the third batch. So Pratyush and few other friends who had joined them, and for us it was a no-brainer because they don't ask for any equity, right? So you get free office space, you get good connections, you get a good set of people to build relationships with, and they can connect you with customers, Microsoft customers, if it's an enterprise product that appeals to them. So I don't think you should worry about giving away equity if it's the right accelerator. And if you think that the people over there are going to be good mentors and advisors for you, you should go for them.
How do you know ideas good enough? I mean, you have 2 or 3 ideas. How do you know particular ideas good enough? How do you know which?
So the best answer is, I was talking about how to get to the MVP first, right? It doesn't cost a lot to launch a landing page, run a bunch of Google ads, and see if people are clicking on it. That tells you that people want a solution like that, right? That's one way to test it. Second is, you can never be sure until you actually do it, right? And as an entrepreneur, you should not get tied down to your first idea, because the art of entrepreneurship is not about solving a $1 billion problem, right? The art of entrepreneurship is about solving some problem, whether it's a small market or a big market, that you will figure out over a period of time. But the experience of solving a problem, you will never get that by going to a business school or by taking courses, right? You have to do it for yourself. So it's a lifestyle, right? So entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. If not this idea, maybe the next time you'll get another idea, but you have the experience of how to turn that idea into a reality. So let destiny take care of that instead of thinking too much about if it is good enough or not.
I'm getting a job which is going to pay me well, but
Well, you don't do startups to make money, right? Like you do startups to solve a problem and hopefully to find meaning in your work. Like I've given very high-paying jobs twice, right? As I worked in 4 companies, 2 startups and 2 large companies, and twice I quit because I thought I should do something else because I was looking for meaning, right? And that meaning could be different for different people, right? For some people, meaning is taking care of your family, right? For some people, meaning is they want to solve something that has a large impact. For some people, meaning is ability to solve challenging problems. It doesn't matter if it is your domain or not domain. So you should think about what gives you your meaning, right? Meaningful satisfaction. And money will happen if you're solving a good problem and maybe not the first startup, second, third, fourth startup. Whether as an employee, an early employee or as a founder, you'll make money at some point. So 2 more questions or?
Like the talking about a case where your product requires changing perception of people around you. For example, like, I still am not sure whether if I am in a dispute with my say landlord and I move this to sign it, I might end up find myself standing in front of a judge and say, nobody sign it, or how should we be able to sign it? So how do you solve this problem of perception facing?
Yeah. So, so we faced it, obviously in India we face it because just some of the laws here are antiquated in terms of what is electronic signature, right? What we operate is electronic signature. But if you look at, let's say, um, unconsciously, you're already using electronic signatures which you're not aware of. So for example, a simple example is when you sign up on a website, right? There's always I agree to terms and conditions, terms of service and privacy conditions, right? There's actually a e-consent. What's the signature? Signature is I'm consenting that I've read the document, I'm okay with these clauses, and I'm going to be responsible if there are going to be consequences if I break it, right? So that's a consent. So, and there are plenty of use cases in India also where you may ask the other party to say that, hey, just sign it and just send me a fax copy of it. So that fax copy is actually an electronic signature. So unconsciously we're already using it. But to answer you definitely, Indian government doesn't talk explicitly about what electronic signatures are, except that they say that if you use digital signatures, which is based on PKI USB based token keys, it's legal because there was a law passed in 2008 or so. What we have seen is electronic signatures are legally valid and enforceable in around 27 countries around the world. At least they have the same status as pen and paper. And these are because laws have been passed almost a decade ago because they realized that if you have sufficient digital audit trail, non-tamperability, authentication, and encryption and so forth, it is more secure, more safe, and it cannot be forced like a pen and paper signature. So, but like any other technology, there is always an adoption curve. What we believe is that if you look at the adoption cycle, right, there is innovators which will use the latest and the greatest. They won't even think about whether it is secure or not. So we have innovators, early adopters, then you have majority adopters, then the late stage and laggards, right? So we have reached a stage where more than 100 million users around the world and like millions of businesses are already transacting using electronic signatures. And it won't be too far in the future where in India also you would see something like this being widely used. But if you look at our market, like less than 1-2% of our customers are from India. So you have to keep up with where your customers are, right? Solve the problem for them and the rest will follow. Thank you. Do you have time to take? Yeah? Okay. Hi.
I'm a student of second year consumer, but recently launched our pilot project for idea, and we have started to bootstrap. But right now we are out of cash. So what's your suggestion? I mean, instead of acceleration or incubators or investor, right now we are doing our product testing in southern part of Bangalore. So So what's your suggestion? I mean, the bootstrap which we have done, we have already burned out of that.
Okay, so depends on how passionate you are to solve this problem. Are you solving this problem because you just want to do a startup?
No, it's actually we are trying to solve real-time problem which the people face in India.
Okay.
So we are trying to solve a major problem. It's not just for shaking up, for just starting up. It's for solving the problem, real-time problem.
So it's a real problem that you're solving. So obviously you know how to code and stuff, right? So one easiest way is to, I'm sure a lot of universities in India now, they have this incubation support where they encourage their own students to come in, they give you free space and so forth. You should explore that.
We've already done that, but it was not much of useful. The mentorship was not proper.
Okay. Can you figure out to earn some money by doing part-time solving?
I've already done that, and from that I have bootstrapped startup.
Okay.
From that I have invested that money in bootstrap.
Have you tried? Have you found your customers yet?
We have 6 or 7 customers within 1 month. We have got 7 customers.
Why are they not paying for it?
So they have already paid us. We have also earned revenue from that as per our V model, but still a long way to go. The promotion
So they have already paid for it.
I think it was a paid customer. I think free because
Okay. Maybe we should talk offline. I can answer that question for you better.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh. So we never did any marketing, to be honest, right? You can do marketing if you think that there is a set of customers you're not able to reach out in front of them. But App Store is a great equalizer platform because the reviews, the App Store search rankings, they kind of keep reinforcing. Like if you search for keywords, if your app is really good in terms of quality and features and the velocity of continuous updates, it will show up. I think when we made the decision to charge a bit, it was kind of, you look at a couple of signals, right? One was you launch it for free for a while because you want to learn from your customer's use case, right? They're giving a lot of feedback. But then at some point you will start seeing that, hey, like in App Store economy, there were other business apps or productivity apps who are charging $1 or $2, right? And we kind of decided that, okay, let's completely switch from free to paid. That means people can't even download without paying for it, right? So we did that, and obviously, our downloads dropped by 100x, right? Like 100th we got it, right? But because of freemium economy in today's world, freemium is like a blessing for anybody, right? You launch something with limited set of features and twist and try out a couple of other features who potentially users will be able to pay for it. And those features can be in the free plan or in the pro plan or in the paid plan. We have to experiment. So we immediately switched from one-time paid to a freemium plan where they download for free, they run out of extra free credits, then they have to pay using in-app purchase. So it's a trial basis. You have to try that. No, but consumer services can be also SaaS. Are you talking about non-SaaS consumer services? No, for example, let's say Spotify. It's a consumer service, but it's still a SaaS business. Can you give an example? Like, okay, sure. Hmm. So, yeah. So, yeah. So we all know in the consumer economy, you're playing a long game. You're not even playing a 5-year game, right? In a B2B, you can play 2 to 3 years game, and then you can start thinking about making money. But at least in the Indian economy, everybody's playing, build users, get traction. Somebody will else pay for it, or maybe we'll figure out in future how to make money for it, right? And to be honest, either you can you have to believe in one or two, right? Either you can start charging them per transaction, whatever that small amount of money transaction fee you want to charge, or you choose the path of so-called external capital raise, and you just have to believe in it. Like there are certain times there are business constraints. Consumer startups have to run in a different way. SaaS companies or B2B companies have to run in a different way. So that's where the reality comes in, right? I mean, it's not entirely in your hand. I mean, even though you can chart your own path, but you have to look at our customers. So, for example, travel is one sector, right? Everybody loves to solve travel problems, right? Because it's such a sexy problem, right? You know, recommended places to travel, the best hotels to figure out, you know, review sites. It's such a sexy problem, but it is so difficult to monetize that, and you have to almost hit the scale of TripAdvisor or some of the other sites, which you can start making money once you have the content or once you have the network in it, right? Until then, because there's a precedent of these companies have to be run based on external capital, you just have to trust that there's no other way than raising capital for those kind of companies. So that's why I'm saying there's nothing right or wrong, right? Depending upon the problem statement you're solving, depending upon the business reality, and depending upon your source of funds available, you just have to make a decision. So even though we like to say that bootstrappers don't have any boss to report to, but we do have a boss, which is the market or the customers. If they stop paying for it, then we will not have, we'll have limited time to figure out what's the next thing we should solve. So, okay, thank you guys.
Thanks a lot, Sunil.
No worries.
Please sit. There's just one more startup that is on. We were talking about bootstrapping, and there's a startup called Tsunami app. The founder wants to talk about what he is doing to bootstrap, and he wants to show his product to you all. So just a 5-minute session, and then we'll break out for snacks and networking.
I see all of you are hungry. I mean, instead of the last 3 presentations, though they were good, but sorry, okay. I'll make sure that the next 5 minutes would be worthy of your time for sure, no doubt. There are 2 things I want to come up with. One is our bootstrap journey, the other one is their product. Which one? Yes, so my name is Prabhu. I am founder of this startup called Tsunami. So let me dive into the presentation. Sorry. Yes, so existing behavior of people who are dealing with SMSs on the phone. So by that smiley, you could understand what is that what kind of emotion the user is on. And this another behavior where when a same brand or store try to spam you through SMS, deleting all your promotions, spam, junk could be really tiring some work, I could say. And reminders, as well as like you're lost in the clutter of your inbox. Too many SMSs, too many spam, promo, junk SMS. So these are the kind of mixed emotions of all of us sitting together here. Means every day on our smartphones. So what we did was, it's an Tsunami is nothing but an SMS organizer app. To say it simple, it organizes all your SMSs into categories like tickets, bills, food, electronics, lifestyle, and the much more categories. It tracks, and you can delete all your promotional spam SMS with just one click, and it reminds you. Let me give an example. Let's say you might have a flight ticket or train or bus ticket from Bangalore to Hyderabad. Let's say you have a flight at 9 o'clock. 3 hours or 4 hours prior, the app reminds you of your PNR of your flight ticket, tries to give you a coupon of Ola or Uber for your airport drop. The same context can be applied to, let's say you have a postpaid bill or a prepaid balance, you have very low balance on your phone. This app recognizes you have a very low balance, you have to pay your postpaid bill. It tries to give you a free charge or a Paytm coupon. So we have many contexts here where this will become an ease of use for you. So to say it simple, we did what exactly Gmail did to your inbox. And these are the features I was talking about. And yes, sorry. Okay. Sorry, okay. And we just launched this app around roughly 6 to 7 weeks back, when we have around 38 users who rate us almost 5-star. Just one is because of promotional issue. And these are our users' emotions after actually using the app. Maybe you can give a quick try now on your Android app. You see, when we really got a good feedback, and this is an outdated numbers again. We have 700 plus users, I think so, and we have almost having 80% returning users. Approximately, our end user might be returning to the app 3 to 4 times on a base of 2 weeks, let's say. So. This is the geo map, where exactly our users have been using the app, Karnataka BHIVE. And I don't want to go on to business model. And we are part of Tata Alexi, incubated by Tata Alexi, NASCOM 10K, as well as Google Launchpad Startup and Facebook Start. This is a quick intro to our app actually. And shall I go to my bootstrap journey, or we'll have a quick question session? Thank you. Bootstrap, okay. So, and frankly speaking, this is not our first baby, our first product. I come from a technology background. Then I started a service company called Base2 MediaWorks way back in 2010 after my college. But unfortunately, I had to join an MNC called HCL and work with Allianz Life Insurance. But I never used to sleep after my office. I used to come home, then work on something passionately, doing something. Then it turned out to be a good business for me, doing websites, apps for some of our local clients, very small clients. I earned little, very penny. So what happened next was, it became a good source of revenue for us to actually stand on our own legs, rather than literally going back behind the investors. So we still continue to do the same, and the company is very successful now. We have 12 people, I have 12 employees. I'm paying them month on month, not on investor money, but on our own money. We have 3 people who are separately working for product. One is me and the other 2 guys are there. And to explain about our product, 2 years back, I had an idea called hyperlocal offline deal discovery. Never believe I had an idea long back in 2010 during my college days. But then there was no interface like mobile apps or something like that. 2013, we started off. And the funniest part is, I started a company without knowing it's a company. We came to know that we are a startup after NASCOM recognizing us that we are a startup. We accidentally applied to a link which is there on the Facebook. We applied, we were one of the top 200 startups, so-called startups, out of 8,000 applications. After coming to Bangalore from Chennai, we went to NASCOM warehouse. That was the first time I'm coming to Bangalore for a business purpose, apart from my service purpose. Then we met investors, accelerators. I never knew how to pitch to an investor that time back. So we learned that there's a good, intention for investors, accelerators to support this kind of product. So then Tata Alexi got interested in us, and they said that they'll incubate us. And luckily, after grilling rounds with the CEO of Tata Alexi, we got incubated by Tata Alexi, and then we were part of NASCOM. So thanks to NASCOM and Tata Alexi for us to have a stage in Bangalore. And then we went on building the product. You never believe, we never chased any investor. Like 6 to 7 investors, approached us, but it didn't work out till because I believe in bootstrapping because right now if you ask me if this is a second product, Street Smart, I could say this is the byproduct of a main product. Means we want to discover something during the course of that. This game became a primary app. When you start with that idea will be vague, or many people turn me out. This idea is not going to work out. You better leave this. We were in the commercial street for the last 8 months or 10 months. You could find us. You could have been in commercial street. We were giving palm pledge for a deal story app and all. But the other guys who actually quickly got funded like Round 8, there are many more apps who are doing this trying to do the same thing. So what forced us to think how do we scale up? I was totally concentrating on the unit economics. I totally believe in growth hacking, and because I've done a service business, I know how 1 rupee comes in and I have to spend on it. I apply the same formula here for my product. We still don't go behind the investors because I'm not overshadowing investors, but then it gave us the freedom to experiment a lot and fail a lot. We are standing on our own legs. Still, we have time. We have much more freedom to experiment a lot rather than going back. So right now we have this app. We have found a good business model. Started partnering with them. So we didn't make. We are almost next month we'll be making our first revenue cut from the app. But right now we have figured out from where the money comes in, how the product takes in, and how to spend across. You never believe people were like, we got 2 acquisition offer. One was from Freecharge. We rejected it again, but the same advice does this a very big, tough task of dealing with hyperlocal offline. It will be very tough. But I understand now why they did, but still we never gave up because we still continue to explore how we can stand on our own until we can go to investors the moment you, let's say it's very simple. The moment your product makes 1 rupee also is fine. But you need to know how to make that 1 rupee rather than doing magic numbering or whatsoever in your PPTs, rather than just focus on how to get 1 rupee from your customers. Because month on month we get money from my service-based customers. So it gave me wing to give salaries to 10 employees, and the same way it gave me freedom to experiment product in much more different times. We failed a lot. We failed many times, but still the only thing we were able, the only formula you need to remember is you have to survive till the end. It's like marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You might run slow. That's not your competitor or others can run fast behind, but that's not an issue. The destination remains the same. So it's a marathon. Try to have energy. The only thing is survival of the fittest. The more you survive, the moment your competitor goes down. Never believe today's first edition paper tab shuts down after raising 50 million. Funny dollars. I'm not criticizing them, but still, without figuring a formula how you make money, it's a waste of time for us, for investors to go back behind them. You can still convince them and get your numbers done and get an investment, be it 5 million or 50 million. But that doesn't make sense. Why we didn't go to investors? Because I personally haven't figured out an exact formula as well as not earn 1 rupee from a product till date. This is the only reason we haven't. The moment we have 100 rupees or 1000 rupees in our account from a paying customer, you have to put X into 5 whatsoever. So until we figure out that, it doesn't make sense to convince them as well as they putting money on you. So bootstrapping is till a particular from point A to point B. I think you will learn a lot by bootstrapping, because the moment you spend your own money, you understand how you will spend. It's easy to spend others' money, but the moment you, and the first investor is going to be you or your friends or your parents or your relatives, because if none of them are believing in you, you will not be able to convince investors. Definitely. You should believe in your idea. If you don't believe in your idea, you will not walk through. The moment you fail, you are shutting down your company, going back again, you have lost. That's where your failure is. It's not, failing is not a failure, but the moment you give up, it's a failure. So I think Bootstrap gives us wings a lot to explore more. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming over. We are in snacks. Thank you. Have a great evening.